Hello, this is Shane Sweeney, and this is my interactive graph presentation. So I started out with the ambitions of working with D3, and I really gave it a go, but just couldn't figure out how to get the data to do what I wanted it to do. However, I really love Tableau, and I was able to get the data in here and mess with it enough to get it to reveal something interesting for the most part. So this is data displaying the trends of smoking throughout the world over the past 25 years. And this is the unfiltered version. On the left, we have this geospatial graph, which displays the percentages of smoking populations within certain countries. And so darker shades of gray mean higher smoking. In Eastern Europe, we're seeing some darker countries, and Russia, of course, China, Indonesia, surprisingly, Chile. But then the U.S. is lighter. Most of Africa doesn't really have any data, but this sort of allows for a general comparison of the data. In the unfiltered version, general is supposed to be a very high-level view of this data. On the right, on the top, we have just another connection to the percentage of the populations. And they're encoded with, they are color-coded from this sort of light orange color to a dark red, indicating higher population, mapping to people's expectation that a higher smoking population is worthy of alert. And that allows you, with the color coding, allows the user to sort of see the trends between the populations and the cigarette consumption. So this graph here at the bottom is the cigarettes smoked per day. And if you see up here at the top, it's a pretty clear trend across the board down for all the countries except for Indonesia here, which goes up. But they sort of stay together. There's not a whole lot of jumping around. Whereas we see in the consumption graph that countries that were a darker red actually have a lower amount of cigarettes per day. So there's a wider spread population of people smoking, but smoking a lot less. And this is sort of similar to the thing I was displaying with my data from the alcohol graph that I displayed last time. But and what's really interesting here is the outliers, like Israel, which is a lighter color, or middle of the road color up here, but then sticks out as being one of the higher consumption per person countries. And so at almost 18, at over 18 cigarettes per person that smokes per day, compared to Denmark, which has gone from, this is Chile, which has gone from 8 to 10. So I just think that's interesting. And I did it this way because it's difficult in the unfiltered version to really get down into the details. And so really at most I'm just allowing users to do a rough comparison. And I chose to do the labels on the left up here so that when the viewer is looking at the geospatial map, there's a sense of connection between the two. But then when they're viewing the bottom one, the lines all start kind of in different places based on the data. So it wasn't displaying very well, and for consistency's sake, I wanted all the labels to be on the left, but I had to move them to the right. And as you can see here, it's still not aligned that well, but on the left it was almost unreadable. So, and then we have this percentage of men and women, which is just a general average throughout the world. As you can see, men tend to be about 10% higher, 10 to 15% higher than women throughout the world, which doesn't really tell you a whole lot until you start clicking on the countries. And so this is when it starts getting interesting. You can jump around between the countries to see how these things sort of change. That's not a good country. Some of the data wasn't very complete, so I did the best I could, but many of them don't have the cigarettes per smoker per day. So let's see if we can get Lithuania here. Lithuania is a good one. No, not Lithuania then. It's Estonia. Okay, so once you've selected a country from the map, you can then see the split between the genders, as what I was just talking about. You can see here how there used to be a pretty heavy split between men and women, but it kind of has gotten closer together over the past 15 years. Lithuania kind of bucks the trend, or not Lithuania, I mean Estonia it's kind of bucking the trend here. A steady decline over the past 25 years to actually kind of maintaining, to a certain extent, the population of smokers. And their cigarettes per smoker per day has actually gone up slightly over the years. Maybe gone down slightly in recent years, but for the most part is above. So, all right, well, we'll look at one more country here, and then I'll let you go. So, for instance, let's look at the U.S., because this is a little more complete. And we can all relate to this. You can see a general trend going down, which also correlates here with the cigarettes per smoke per day, which is going down. And we're seeing a almost pretty close split here between men and women. Not quite as distant throughout the years, though this also echoes the trends from the other ones. So, all right, that's all for I have the time to really display. Thanks so much. Let's see if I can stop.